Whether it's on the USMLE or in the wards, you need to be able to interpret labs like this. So in today's episode, let's break down how to interpret LFTs. So for step one, look at your liver enzymes AST and ALT, which are markers of hepatocellular injury. And how high these values are can help indicate what pathology might be underlying, because if our AST and ALT is in like the thousands, you might be thinking viral hepatitis or ischemic hepatitis, versus in this case, we only have a mildly elevated AST, ALT, so you might be thinking non-alcoholic liver disease or maybe a primary biliary condition. Now, before we move on to step two, I want you to remember this pattern. If your AST to ALT ratio is greater than 2-to-1 or even 3-to-1, that's very specific for alcoholic-induced liver injury. All right, so we talked about liver enzymes. Now, step two is to look at your ALP. And this really helps us identify, is this a primary biliary problem? Now, here we have a quite elevated ALP, and so we're probably thinking this is going down the path of biliary obstruction or cholestasis. But a way we can confirm it, which is step three, is to look at your GGT. Now, GGT really helps us confirm where the ALP source is coming from. Is ALP source coming from a hepatic or liver problem, or is it coming from a bone problem? And GGT, if elevated alongside ALP, is very, very specific for a biliary problem over a bone problem. Versus if we have a high ALP and a normal GGT, then we're maybe thinking more a bone problem like Paget's disease or metastasis. All right, so up to this point, based on these values, we can say there's a hepatobiliary process underlying. Now in step four, I want you to look at your bilirubin levels, particularly the ratio of your direct to total bilirubin, because in this case, as you can see, we have a clear direct or conjugated hyperbilirubinemia, which is more pointing down the picture of biliary obstruction or cholestasis, versus an unconjugated hyperbilirubinemia, remember unconjugated with a upper problem, which is usually prehepatic, but in this picture here, we can confidently say this is posthepatic. The bilirubin has processed through the liver. There's something now blocking it, draining through the biliary system. And finally, step five is to look at your synthetic function of the liver. So we can use albumin and INR, which are proteins and coagulation factors that the liver normally produces. And so because these are normal, we can confidently say that in this case, the liver is still adequately functioning. All right, so altogether, we can say we have a cholestatic liver injury, likely due to a biliary obstruction due to things like primary sclerosing cholangitis or a stone in the common bile duct, choledocholitis.